Tonight, let's take a slow, quiet walk into a world that feels impossibly far away. A world without electricity, without comfort, without the small things that make modern life feel easy. A world where a single day could test your patience, your strength, and even your senses. This is the medieval world, but not the version filled with brave knights, shining castles, and clean stone floors that stories often tell. Here we step into the real picture, soft, calm, and without any rush. So you can drift into sleep while learning what life truly felt like centuries ago. So settle in, let your shoulders relax, and imagine that gentle darkness where only the soft glow of a single candle lights your room. Feel the night slowing down around you. Let your breath fall into a calm rhythm. And now quietly, let us begin our journey. Imagine you are standing in a narrow medieval street at dawn. The sky is still gray. The ground beneath your feet is uneven, damp, and cold. You hear the first creak of a wooden cart being pulled across stones. You smell the smoke of small fires waking up in kitchens. Nothing smells clean, nothing looks polished. It is a world where everything feels heavier than life today. A world where even surviving a normal day takes effort from morning to night. And this is why, as we begin our gentle walk through the past, you will start to understand something very simple. You wouldn't last a day in medieval times, and that's completely okay. As the quiet of the night settles in, let us move to our next part. A calm look at the very first moments of a medieval morning. Imagine the soft light of dawn barely touching your closed eyes. You expect the comfort of a warm mattress and a soft pillow, maybe a quiet room. But instead you wake up on something that feels rough, uneven, and strangely damp. A medieval bed. It is nothing like the beds you know today. There is no spring, no cushion, no foam. Just a wooden frame, a cloth bag filled with straw, and a blanket that feels heavy with the smell of smoke and the cold of last night. If you shift your weight even a little, the straw inside the mattress crackles loudly, as if complaining that it has already served many seasons, many bodies, and many winters. Take a slow breath, and imagine opening your eyes. The first thing you notice is the darkness. Not peaceful darkness, but a darkness that feels thick, because the only window in the room is small and covered with a cloth to keep the cold out. Light struggles to enter. Air hardly moves. Your throat feels dry, your body feels stiff, and your mind wonders why mornings feel so heavy here. As you sit up, you feel the cold wooden floor beneath your feet. There is no slipper waiting for you, no warm carpet, only boards that creak softly beneath your weight, as if the entire house is waking with you. You rub your eyes, but the smoky air inside the room makes them sting a little. Every medieval home has a thin layer of smoke inside, because chimneys were simple, imperfect, and always leaking just a bit. This was normal for them. But for you, it would feel like waking up inside a tiny firehouse every morning. Take another slow breath and think about the silence. But even the silence isn't truly quiet. You hear chickens outside, a dog barking somewhere far, the deep groaning sound of someone pushing open a wooden gate. Life begins early here, long before you would ever want to wake up. Now imagine standing up and stretching your back. The stretch doesn't feel refreshing. It feels necessary. Because sleeping on straw has made your shoulders tight and your spine stiff. The air inside the room is cold, cold enough that your breath leaves a faint mist in front of you. Medieval houses had no insulation, no heating system. People simply slept close to each other, hoping body warmth would be enough. As the slow morning begins around you, you notice another thing you would struggle with. You are already tired, even though your day has just started. Take a quiet moment. Let the image settle gently, and now let us walk outside. into the true heart of a medieval morning. The door of your home is wooden, rough, and uneven. When you push it open, it groans loudly, as if announcing that another long day is about to begin. Outside, the street greets you with a mix of sounds and smells. Not the clean freshness you might expect, but the scent of animals, earth, and life lived without modern sanitation. It is a world where clean means something entirely different. A light breeze touches your skin, but it carries the smell of a nearby stable, faint smoke from early fires, and the earthy scent of damp soil. You walk slowly, your pace gentle, your breath soft, as you move through a world that is waking up in ways that feel ancient, heavy, and strangely beautiful. And this is only the morning. Only the beginning. Imagine stepping out from your dim, smoky medieval room into a world where the morning has fully arrived, but your stomach still feels empty. And you naturally expect a warm, comforting breakfast. But in medieval times, breakfast as you know it today simply didn't exist. Take a slow breath and picture yourself standing in a small medieval home. There is no smell of tea, no simmering pot of eggs, no warm bread coming out of an oven. Just a quiet, heavy silence, broken only by the soft clucking of chickens outside and the faint crackle of a dying fire from last night. Most people simply woke up, rubbed their eyes, washed their face with cold water, and went straight to work on an empty stomach. Your body is already tired from sleeping on straw, and now the day asks you to begin. Without food, you look around the room, hoping to find something to eat. But the shelves are nearly empty, not because the family is poor, but because this is normal. Food was precious. Food was planned. Food was never wasted on early mornings. You take another slow breath and imagine walking toward the fire pit in the center of the room. The ashes are cold, gray, still carrying the memory of last night's smoke. There is no stove, no gas, no matchstick. To make fire, someone has to kneel down, take dry straw, take a bit of smoldering coal saved from the night before, and gently blow until the ember becomes a flame. It takes minutes, sometimes longer. Your stomach waits, your breath waits, your patience waits. Finally, a small flame appears, glowing softly. But even now, there is no breakfast ready. The family might simply heat a bit of yesterday's bread, hard as stone, dry as sand, because fresh bread will be baked later. Not now. Imagine holding that piece of bread in your hand. It feels rough, not soft and pillowy like modern bread. You bite into it, and it is tough, chewy, almost like biting into a piece of wood. But this is what people ate. This is what kept them going. If you belong to a working family and a peasant family, you don't even get this. You grab a small wooden cup and fill it with something thinner than soup, a watery mix of grains boiled the night before. Barely food, but enough to give your body the smallest push forward. You take a sip, and the lukewarm liquid feels strange. Not flavorful, not pleasant, just functional. A quiet sigh escapes your lips. This meal isn't meant to make you happy. It's meant to make you survive. Take a slow breath, and imagine the simple rhythm of eating in silence. No table, no plates, no morning routine, no peaceful ritual, just survival. Even nobles who had more food did not have breakfast like you imagine. They might drink ale, maybe leftover meat, maybe cheese that smells strong and sharp, but nothing like the cozy breakfasts of the modern world. And so you sit there, your stomach only half satisfied, your energy still low, your mind still sleepy, and yet the day is demanding, because after this small thin meal, Your work begins. Not after coffee, not after resting, not after a peaceful moment. You stand up, wipe your hands, breathe slowly, and prepare to face a day that is heavier than you could ever imagine. As the morning light deepens and the world around you grows busy, let us walk into the hardest part of medieval life. The daily labor, the work that would break you within hours. Imagine stepping outside your medieval home, with the faint light of dawn still touching the sky. The air is cold, the ground is damp, and the world feels strangely silent, except for the soft clatter of wooden wheels far away, and the distant call of animals waking up. You stretch your back, already tired from the rough night, and your stomach still feels half empty. But there is no time to rest. There is no concept of slow mornings. No sitting with tea. No scrolling on a phone. No gentle routine. In medieval life, the day begins with work. Hard work. Heavy work. Work that demands your body, your breath, your strength. Even when you don't have enough to give, take a slow breath. And imagine walking into a wide field where the sun hasn't even fully risen. The soil is wet from last night's cold. Your feet sink into the mud with each step. Your hands feel the rough wooden handle of a tool that is older than you, older than your parents, passed down generation after generation, because tools were too precious to replace. The iron blade is blunt. The wood is cracked. But this is what you must use. You bend your back, your body stiff from sleeping on straw, and start to work the land. Slowly, steadily, painfully. Each movement is heavy. Each breath feels like it carries weight. The cold morning air enters your lungs like something sharp and icy. Your fingers ache. Your shoulders burn. Your back complains. But no one stops. No one rests. Everyone around you works, softly, silently, accepting that this is simply life. You swing the tool again, and again, and again. The field seems endless, stretching out like a challenge. The world has placed before you. If you are a farmer, this is your morning. If you are a servant, your morning is spent carrying water, lifting heavy wooden buckets, again and again, from a well far away, your arms trembling from the weight. If you are a young girl in a kitchen, your morning begins with fire, the soft crackle of wood, the sting of smoke in your eyes, the heat on your face. Even in the cold air, you chop vegetables that are hard and dull, nothing like fresh modern food. Roots that resist your knife, leaves that wilt quickly. You grind grain between stones, your arms moving in slow, endless circles to turn dry kernels into powder. Your breath becomes heavier as the minutes pass. But the work continues. If you belong to a castle, your work is polishing metal, carrying trays, cleaning the floors, tending to animals, fetching water, scrubbing clothes, in cold streams that sting your fingers. Every task takes longer, because nothing is easy, nothing is automated, nothing is simple. As you continue your work, the sun rises slowly and warms the frost from the ground, but even the sunlight feels like a luxury you don't have time to enjoy. You wipe sweat from your forehead, even though the air is still cold. And yet you continue, because the medieval world does not give you choices. It does not pause for you. It does not care if you are tired, hungry, cold, or weak. Work is survival. Work is routine. Work is every day. You stop for a moment, your breath slow, your back aching, and you look around at the world. A farmer pulling a plow, behind a tired ox, a woman carrying wood twice her size, a child gathering straw with tiny hands, an old man trying to fix a broken cart with tools that barely work. Everyone is struggling, but everyone keeps going. Take another slow breath. Feel the heaviness of this world, its pace, its silence, its unspoken demands. And as the sun finally rises higher and the morning becomes brighter, your body feels like it has already lived a full day. But this is just the beginning, because now we move into another part of life that would shock you even more. The realities of medieval hygiene, and why you wouldn't last long in a world with almost no cleanliness at all. Imagine taking a slow breath and stepping deeper into the medieval world, where the morning sun touches the rooftops, but the air around you still carries a heavy, unfamiliar scent, a scent of smoke, of animals, of sweat, of damp earth, and something else. Something that tells you cleanliness is a luxury few people ever experience. In the medieval world, hygiene was not just poor, it was almost non-existent. Not because people didn't want to be clean, but because the world simply didn't give them the tools, the knowledge, or the time. You walk slowly through a narrow street, the ground uneven beneath your feet. Small stones press into your shoes. The walls on each side are close together, almost leaning inward, as if trying to touch. The air here is thick. You hear the soft splash of something wet as you step forward, and you realize the middle of the street is not a clean walkway. It is a channel for everything people throw away. Leftover food, dirty water, animal waste, human waste, all flowing slowly down the center of the road, guided by gravity and nothing else. You take a gentle breath through your mouth, trying not to inhale too deeply, but the scent lingers anyway, clinging to the air. Imagine living in a place where people emptied chamber pots straight out of the window, shouting a quick warning before tossing it onto the street. Imagine walking below and hoping you are not the one standing in the wrong place at the wrong moment. Bathing was not a daily habit, not a weekly habit, sometimes not even a monthly one. Water was precious, hard to heat, hard to carry, and even harder to share. People believed that warm baths opened the body to sickness, so many avoided washing to protect their health. Imagine touching your skin, feeling the roughness of dust and sweat, layered from many days, settled like fine powder that never fully leaves. Your clothing carries the same smell, a mixture of smoke, wool, earth, and the labor of long days. In the corner of a home, you might find a small bowl of water, used for washing hands and face, shared by everyone, rarely changed. The water grows cloudy, but it remains in use because fetching more takes too much strength and too much time. You step deeper into the streets. Animals wander freely, dogs searching for scraps, chickens tapping the ground, pigs rummaging through waste. Like natural cleaners of the city, there is no separation between humans and animals. Everything mixes. Everything blends. Life overlaps without boundaries. You continue walking, and the smell of smoke grows stronger. Most homes burn wood or peat to heat the house and cook their meals. The smoke clings to the walls, turning them dark. It clings to clothes, to hair, to skin. It becomes a part of you, because there is no escape from it. Inside a home, you might notice that windows are small or covered, letting in little light and even less fresh air. Ventilation is rare, so the scent of animals, cooking, sweat, and illness gathers inside the room like an unseen fog. Now imagine brushing your teeth, except you can't. There are no toothbrushes, no toothpaste. People use cloth, salt, or simply nothing at all. Their teeth slowly decay, darkening, weakening, breaking. Pain becomes a quiet companion in daily life. And yet, people keep moving. They don't complain. They accept this world as the only world. You sit down on a wooden bench, the surface rough beneath your hands. You look around and watch families going through their routines. A woman combs her hair with a bone comb, pulling gently at knots, her fingers used to the small pain. A man wipes his face with a damp cloth that has already been used many times today. Children splash water from a bucket onto the floor to keep the dust down, not realizing they are spreading dirt more than removing it. This is not neglect. This is normal life. Cleanliness, as you understand it, does not exist yet. The world feels heavy, dense, unfiltered, and your body feels it too. Your skin, your breath, your senses, all adjusting to a reality where comfort is a distant dream. Take a slow breath. Let the medieval world settle softly in your imagination, because now, as the day moves forward, we are about to explore the dangerous illnesses and everyday health struggles that would make medieval life even harder to survive. Imagine the medieval world settling around you again, its sounds and scents returning like a slow-moving fog. The sun climbs a little higher in the sky, warming the village rooftops and the rough wooden beams of simple homes. But warmth doesn't bring comfort here. It only reveals more clearly how fragile life is in this age. Everywhere you look, you see faces touched by tiredness, bodies worn down not just by work, but by sickness that arrives quietly and never truly leaves. Illness in medieval times is not a rare event, not an interruption of life. It is woven into daily existence like a shadow that follows every step. There are no vaccines, no antibiotics, no clean hospitals, no guaranteed remedies. Even a small cut can become a threat. Even a simple fever can steal a life. And as you walk slowly through this world, you begin to realize how different your own life would be if you had to survive here, even for a single day. The air inside homes is thick, heavy with smoke and dust, which makes breathing difficult. People cough often, deep and rough coughs that shake their bodies and echo through the rooms. Children cling to their mothers, their faces pale, their movements slow. Many of them suffer from illnesses that modern medicine could cure easily, yet here, they linger for days, weeks, or months. A simple cold can turn into a dangerous infection. A small wound from a knife or a fall can swell, redden, and slowly poison the blood. You feel a softness inside your chest as you watch a young boy sitting by the doorway, his head resting weakly against the wall. His mother gently wiping his forehead with a cloth dipped in cool water, the only remedy she has. Her eyes hold fear, but also acceptance, because in this world, Sickness is not an exception. It is a constant companion. Doctors, or what people called physicians, are rare and expensive. Most families never see one. Instead, they rely on healers, herbalists, midwives, and old beliefs passed down from generations before. Some illnesses are blamed on bad air, some on imbalances of humors inside the body, some on curses or spiritual causes. Remedies include drying herbs above smoky fires, crushing garlic into thick pastes, boiling roots into strong-smelling tonics, or applying strange mixtures onto wounds. Mixtures that sometimes help, and sometimes make things worse. You watch a healer preparing a remedy in a wooden bowl, mixing wine, crushed leaves, and a handful of dark powder. The scent is sharp, almost bitter. The patient sits quietly, their eyes closed, trusting the process because they have no other choice. You sit beside them, feeling the stillness of the room, feeling how fragile hope is in moments like these. As you continue your quiet walk, passing one home after another, you notice how quickly sickness spreads here. Houses stand close together and families sleep in shared spaces, often in the same room, sometimes even in the same bed. Ventilation is poor, water is unclean, and washing hands is not a habit anyone thinks about. When one family member falls ill, the rest often follow within days. You hear whispers about fevers moving through the village, stomach illnesses that weaken even the strongest men, and coughing sickness that lingers for months. There is no isolation, no quarantine, no understanding of how diseases spread. People only know that when sickness comes, it rarely leaves quietly. You pass a group of workers repairing a wooden fence outside a cottage. One of them suddenly stops, holding his side, his breath sharp and shallow. His friend pats him on the back, telling him to rest, but rest is a luxury most cannot afford. If he misses a day of work, his family may not eat. So he lifts the tool again and continues, even though his hands tremble. This is what illness looks like in medieval life. Not just pain inside the body, but the pressure of survival pushing against it, insisting that work must go on, no matter how one feels. Now imagine your own body in this world. No clean water, no vitamins, no fresh fruit in winter, no proper medical care. Your immune system would struggle, your skin would break easily, your stomach would react to unfamiliar foods, your lungs would tighten from smoke, and even a small injury could turn into something life-threatening. You begin to understand why life expectancy was so low, why so many children never reached adulthood, and why people aged quickly, their bodies carrying the weight of sickness every day. Take a slow breath. Let the atmosphere settle deep inside your thoughts. This is how fragile, unpredictable, and exhausting health was in medieval times. Not because people were weak, but because the world around them made survival itself a daily challenge. And as the evening light begins to soften across the village, we will soon walk deeper into another part of medieval life, a part where comfort is scarce, silence carries stories, and nights feel longer than you could ever imagine. As you walk deeper into the medieval world, the quiet village around you shifts in subtle ways. The scent of wood smoke grows stronger, mixed now with something less pleasant, a reminder that cleanliness here is not what you are used to. Hygiene in medieval times is a strange, distant memory of comfort, replaced instead by habits shaped by necessity, limited knowledge, and the constant struggle to simply survive each day. Everything feels older, rougher, and more real. People move through their routines with acceptance, not because they choose discomfort, but because it is all they have ever known. Imagine stepping into a small home built of wood and earth. The floor is hard and uneven, the walls darkened by years of smoke, and the air thick with the scent of cooking, sweat, and worn wool. There is no running water, no soap as you know it, no bathrooms with tiles or taps. Instead, you notice a simple wooden bucket placed in a corner, carefully covered with a cloth. This is the family's toilet, the only option for everyone who lives here. When it fills, someone must carry it outside and empty it into a pit or a trench behind the house. It is a normal part of life, yet the smell lingers quietly, settling into the corners of the home like an unwelcome guest that never leaves. Outside, you walk slowly down a narrow dirt pathway, and the ground feels soft beneath your footsteps. Not from soil alone, but from years of waste discarded along the edges of the road. Villagers toss their waste out of windows or doorways, believing the rain will wash it away eventually. You hear the faint splash of water from someone rinsing a pot, but even that water is not clean. It comes from a nearby stream that is shared for everything: drinking, washing, cooking, and disposal. And as you get closer, you can smell the way the stream carries the stories of the entire village. Bathing is rare here, not because people are careless, but because warm baths are a luxury. Heating water takes time, firewood, and effort. Most people bathe only a few times a year, sometimes even less. Some believe bathing too often makes the body weak. Others simply cannot afford to waste time or warmth on it. Clothes, too, are not washed often. People wear the same garments again and again until the fabric becomes stiff with dirt in daily life. Wool absorbs the scent of smoke, sweat, and work, creating an aroma that fills every home and street. Your eyes move slowly across the faces of villagers you pass. Their hands are rough and stained, not by choice, but from constant labor. Their hair carries the dust of the day, sometimes braided, sometimes tied, sometimes left loose and tangled. Children run barefoot, their feet blackened from earth and ash, their laughter soft but echoing through the settlement. A little girl wipes her nose with her sleeve without thinking. A boy scratches at his scalp, where lice are a normal part of growing up. In this world, such things do not carry shame. They are simply life. You pause near a small wooden structure behind a group of houses. It leans slightly to one side, its door held closed by a simple latch. This is an outdoor latrine used by several families. Inside, a rough bench with a hole cut into it sits above a deep pit. The smell drifts out softly into the cool air. People come here hurriedly, often at night, holding a lantern or candle to guide their way. In winter, the cold makes the visit almost unbearable. In summer, flies gather in swarms. But no one complains. Everyone accepts the discomfort as part of being human in these times. Personal care also looks different. Instead of toothbrushes and toothpaste, people chew on sticks or rub their teeth with cloth or ashes, though many still lose teeth early. Instead of deodorant, they use herbs, flowers, or simply let the body remain as it is. Instead of clean towels, they dry themselves with scraps of cloth or simply let the air handle the drying. Even something as small as washing hands after eating or using the toilet is not a common habit. People do not understand germs or contamination. They only understand what they can see: dirt, mud, dust, and they clean themselves when it feels necessary, not when it is healthy. As evening begins to settle, you feel the weight of this world's simplicity pressing deeper into your thoughts. The roughness of daily hygiene is not meant to shock you, only to remind you how different life once was. And yet, in all this discomfort, there is also a strange sense of calm. People here are not restless. They are not anxious about perfection. They live with what they have, and they find peace in survival. Take a slow breath. Let the scene soften around you. And as the night grows quiet once again, we will soon move into another part of medieval life, a part shaped by sleep, darkness, and the rhythms of old-world nights. As the soft night settles around us, let's take a slow and gentle step into the world of medieval entertainment, where life moved at a different rhythm, quieter, simpler, and often strangely comforting. Imagine you are walking through a small village square. The sun is setting, turning the sky golden, and the villagers gather not around screens or loudspeakers, but around each other. There is a calmness in the air, the kind that comes from a life without constant noise. People talked face to face, smiled at familiar neighbors, and found joy in the little things. Entertainment wasn't something they watched, it was something they lived. And tonight we will walk through that world together slowly, as if the medieval evening is unfolding right before your eyes. Let's begin with the most common kind of entertainment: storytelling. In a time without internet, books, or even widespread literacy, stories were treasures. Picture a simple wooden bench by the fire, the warm glow dancing across faces, and an old storyteller beginning with a soft voice. His tales might be about kings and knights, or about spirits in the forest, or about local heroes whose names only this village remembers. People listened with deep patience. No one rushed him. No one interrupted. The listeners let the story wash over them like a gentle wave. And in that moment, the whole village shared one imagination. It was not just entertainment. It was connection, a thread that held the community together. As we stroll further into the evening, imagine hearing the faint sound of a flute or a lute. Music was simple but full of heart. A single musician could turn a quiet night into a cozy gathering. Sometimes families sat together just to listen to a neighbor play a slow melody. The notes floated softly through the air, mixing with the crackling of firewood, creating a kind of peace that is almost impossible to find today. For many people, this music was their escape, a soft reminder that even in a hard world, beauty still existed. And as you listen now, in your imagination, let the gentle rhythm relax your mind even more. On special days, though, medieval life came alive with something brighter: festivals. Not grand, expensive festivals, but warm, lively, human ones. Imagine walking into a meadow filled with laughter, fabrics of bright colors, and the smell of baked bread drifting through the air. Villagers danced in circles, holding hands, stepping lightly to the steady beat of drums. Children ran around with wooden toys. Farmers traded vegetables and crafts. Women wore flowers in their hair. It was simple joy, unpolished, but full of soul. These festivals were often tied to seasons: spring planting, summer harvest, winter feasts. Every celebration had meaning, reminding people of the cycles of nature that shaped their lives. Now picture the more unusual entertainers: the jugglers, the dancers, the traveling performers. They wandered from village to village, bringing news, tricks, and laughter. People gathered quickly when they appeared, excited to see something new. The juggler would toss wooden balls into the air, the dancer would move gracefully in colorful cloth, and sometimes an animal, a dog or a small goat, would perform clever tricks. Even a short performance brought great excitement. For a world with very few distractions, this was magic. The kind of magic that made a long week feel a little lighter. And as night deepened, villages often ended their days quietly. Families sat near their hearths, speaking softly, or simply listening to the fire. Some people carved wood, some mended clothes, some just rested, thinking about the day. There was no pressure to always be productive, no constant noise, no bright screens pulling attention in every direction, just calm. The kind of calm that today feels almost ancient. In that slow rhythm, people found peace without even realizing it. Now let us take one more walk through this medieval evening. Picture the moon rising over the rooftops, the stars bright and clear because no artificial lights blurred the sky. A few voices fade softly in the distance as villagers say goodnight. A gentle breeze carries the smell of earth and wood smoke, and everything becomes still. This stillness and this deep natural quiet was part of their nightly life, something modern ears rarely hear. As you imagine this moment, allow some of that quiet to settle within you too. A reminder that peace doesn't always come from grand things. Sometimes it comes from the simple rhythm of a world moving slowly. As the night deepens around us, let's slowly step into the private world of medieval families. A world where homes were simple, routines were steady, and life moved to a gentle rhythm shaped by seasons, faith, and daily survival. Imagine a small wooden house, its walls built from earth and timber, warm with the soft glow of a single candle. Families lived close together, sleeping in the same room, sharing the same warmth, listening to the same soft sounds of the night. There was a closeness here, sometimes forced by circumstance, sometimes welcomed with love, that created a bond modern life rarely holds. Every whisper, every breath, every movement was shared, and in this closeness family life grew, slow and steady like a soft flame. Marriage in medieval times was rarely romantic in the way we imagine today. Instead, it was practical, shaped by land, work, and survival. Imagine a young couple sitting quietly beside the fire, not lovers at first, but partners learning how to share a life. Their hands are rough from labor, their clothes simple, yet there is a gentle understanding in their silence. Over time, affection grows the way vines climb a wall, not suddenly, but little by little. Soft glances during meals, shared laughter on cold mornings, a comforting hand after a long day's work. These slow, quiet moments built their bond. In a world without hurry, relationships were not rushed. They unfolded naturally, like long chapters written in warm candlelight. Family roles were clear but deeply interconnected. Picture a mother kneeling near the hearth, stirring a pot slowly while telling a soft story to her child. The faint smell of herbs fills the air, mixing with the earthy scent of the home. Children learn by watching, imitating the rhythm of their parents' hands. How to knead dough, how to sweep the floor, how to tend to animals, how to whisper goodnight prayers. Nothing is written down. Everything is passed from one generation to the next, through gentle repetition. Fathers often working from sunrise to sunset, Return home tired yet greeted with familiarity and warmth. The house may be small, but the comfort inside it is large. The kind of comfort built not by things, but by people. Let's take a slow walk into the evenings of medieval family life. After the day's work, families gathered around the fire. The room smelled of wood smoke, bread, and wool. There is no noise except the soft crackle of burning logs and the steady breathing of those resting nearby. A grandmother might share an old tale. A father might carve wood in silence. Children might drift asleep in their mother's lap. The calmness of this nightly ritual wrapped the family in a cocoon of stillness. Today, the world outside our windows never sleeps. But in medieval times, night brought a natural pause. A spacious silence. A moment where hearts rested without distraction. Marriage customs varied from village to village, yet simplicity tied them all together. Imagine a small wedding feast. Nothing extravagant, just music, bread, laughter, and the blessing of neighbors gathered around. Women wore garlands of flowers, men wore their best tunics. There was dancing under the open sky, feet moving gently in circles, hands held tightly as the couple stepped into their new life. And when the celebration ended, the real marriage began. Quiet mornings, shared chores, whispered hopes, and the slow building of a home. It wasn't perfect, and life wasn't easy. But there was an undeniable beauty in the way medieval people shaped happiness from the little they had. Now picture the simple but intimate structure of medieval homes. One room might serve as kitchen, bedroom, and workspace all at once. The bed was often a straw-filled mattress, shared by the entire family. Privacy was rare, but closeness created trust. A newborn baby slept wrapped in cloth near the mother's side. Older children curled up together for warmth. At night, everyone heard the same sounds: the wind brushing against wooden walls, the soft hoot of an owl, the distant bark of a dog. These sounds became lullabies, familiar and comforting, marking the passing of each quiet night. As we sit in this medieval home a little longer, imagine the gentle rhythm of daily affection. A father helping his child tie their shoes made of leather straps. A mother braiding her daughter's hair slowly each morning. Siblings sharing small wooden toys passed down through years. Life wasn't full of luxury, but it was rich in togetherness. Families depended on each other, leaned on each other, and grew through each season like branches of the same old tree. And now, as the candle flickers low in this quiet medieval home, let your mind rest in the warmth of this simplicity. Feel the peace of a world where nights were long, conversations were soft, and love was shown in gentle, everyday ways. Let the rhythm of this old world calm your breathing, soften your thoughts, and settle your heart. Let's drift gently into the working world of medieval times, a world where every day began with quiet determination and ended with tired but peaceful rest. Imagine the first soft light of dawn touching a small village. There is no alarm, no rush, only the natural awakening of the world. Birds call softly from the trees. A rooster crows in the distance. Slowly, families rise from their straw beds, stretching their bodies that have grown used to long days of steady labor. Life was not easy, but it carried its own quiet rhythm, a rhythm that shaped every sunrise and every sunset. Picture a medieval farmer stepping outside into the cool morning air. His clothes are simple, his hands rough, but his movement is calm and practiced. He knows the land like an old friend. Fields stretch before him, still covered with dew. He breathes deeply, feeling the softness of the soil beneath his feet. Work begins with simple tasks: tightening a rope, feeding animals, lifting tools that feel heavy yet familiar. There was no hurry, no noisy machines, only the slow, steady pace of human hands meeting the earth. This connection between person and land created a harmony that modern life has almost forgotten. Inside the home, the work of women flowed with the same gentle rhythm. Imagine a medieval woman at her spinning wheel, turning wool into thread with soft, circular motions. The wheel hums quietly, a calming sound that fills the room like a lullaby. She pauses sometimes to check the fire, to stir a pot, or to listen for her children. There is no technology here, no shortcuts, only patient skill. Every cloth worn, every blanket used, every thread in the home was touched by hands that worked with care, not speed. Her day is long, but it is full of purpose. Each movement, no matter how small, contributes to the family's survival. Let's take a slow walk into the old medieval workshops. Imagine a blacksmith working near a glowing forge, the warm orange light reflecting softly on his face. The rhythmic tapping of metal is steady, not loud, almost like a heartbeat echoing in the shop. Sparks drift gently like tiny fireflies, disappearing before they touch the ground. His strength comes not from rushing, but from years of practice, from knowing exactly how to shape the iron with firm, patient strikes. Tools, horseshoes, hinges, simple weapons, all crafted with quiet dedication. His work was respected, not because it was glamorous, but because it was essential. Now picture the life of medieval shepherds. Their work was slow, peaceful, and deeply connected to nature. A shepherd's day began with walking across wide open fields as sheep grazed calmly around him. The soft breeze moved through the grass. Bells tied to the animals' necks rang with gentle, soothing notes. The shepherd used a long staff not for force, but for guidance. His work allowed him long hours of quiet thinking, quiet observing, quiet breathing. It was a lonely job. Yes, but a calming one, filled with the beauty of open skies and the comfort of simple routine. Work in medieval villages was divided by season. In spring, people planted seeds. In summer, they tended to crops. In autumn, they harvested with long, careful strokes of sickles. And in winter, the pace slowed completely. Work moved with the earth, never against it. Imagine farmers gathering together during harvest season, forming lines to pass bundles of wheat from one person to the next. Their voices are soft, their movements steady. Community meant survival, and survival meant cooperation. No one worked alone when it truly mattered. But even with long days and constant labor, medieval people found moments of rest. At midday, workers sat together under a tree, sharing simple meals: bread, cheese, maybe a few vegetables. They talked softly, laughed gently, and enjoyed the cool air before returning to their tasks. At sunset, the day ended naturally. People returned home with aching muscles but peaceful minds. There were no late-night shifts, no deadlines, no constant noise. Only the comfort of a meal, a warm fire, and the soft quiet of night approaching. Imagine returning to the cottage now where the family gathers after work. Clothes smell of earth, wood smoke, and the outdoors. Children sit close, excited to see their parents again. Everyone shares the stories of the day, who they met, what they fixed, how the sky looked that morning. These conversations were small, but they were full of warmth. They stitched families together like threads of a simple, strong cloth. So much of medieval life was shaped by slow physical labor, yet this slowness brought a sense of grounding, a rhythm that made life feel steady and predictable. It wasn't comfortable, but it was deeply human. Every task required hands, patience, and a quiet heart. And every night, as the village settled into silence, people slept not from stress, but from honest exhaustion. Let this calm picture of medieval work settle gently in your mind. The glow of a forge, the whisper of wheat, the hum of a spinning wheel, the slow footsteps of a shepherd. Allow these images to ease your breathing and soften your thoughts. Let's take a gentle step into one of the most important parts of medieval life, the simple, quiet world of food and cooking. Imagine a small cottage kitchen just before sunrise. The air is cool. A faint scent of wood smoke hangs softly in the room. There is no metal stove, no fridge humming in the background, only silence, and the crackle of a fire waiting to be lit. A medieval woman kneels beside the hearth, placing small twigs and dry grass together with practiced hands. She strikes a spark. A tiny flame appears, flickering softly like a sleepy eye waking up. This small fire will be the heart of the family's entire day, warming the room, cooking every meal, and bringing everyone together. Imagine her stirring a pot made of simple clay or iron. The food inside is humble, maybe a thin soup made from barley, onions, and a few herbs. The steam rises slowly, filling the cottage with warm, comforting smells. Cooking was not rushed. It was not loud. It was a slow art, shaped by patience and necessity. Ingredients were few, but each one carried meaning because it came directly from their own hands or from a neighbor's field. Every bite of food was a small piece of the land itself, and every meal was a reminder of time, the seasons, the weather, the harvest. Let's take a quiet walk outside the cottage. Chickens wander near the doorway, scratching gently at the earth. Their soft clucks blend with the morning breeze. A few eggs lie in a basket, precious little treasures that will add richness to the day's meal. In a small garden nearby, clusters of vegetables grow in the soil. Leeks, cabbage, carrots, maybe a handful of beans. These gardens were not big, but they were life-giving. People tended them with love, watering them slowly, weeding them quietly. In the medieval world, food wasn't something you simply bought. It was something you grew, protected, waited for, and finally enjoyed with grateful hearts. Inside the kitchen again, imagine grinding grains. A stone grinder sits on the floor, heavy and ancient. A mother or daughter turns it in slow, circular movements, crushing wheat into coarse flour. It is tiring, steady work. The sound is rhythmic, gentle, like a soft heartbeat echoing through the home. Every loaf of bread began here, in the simple effort of hands turning stone. Bread was not just food. It was survival. It was comfort. It was the smell that made a house feel like a home. Picture a medieval family eating together. There is no table filled with dishes, no plates shining in the candlelight. Maybe just a wooden board, a shared pot, a few wooden spoons. Yet the moment is warm. Children sit close to their parents. A tiny candle glows near the fire, casting dancing shadows on the walls. The stew may be plain, but the feeling of eating together, after hours of working, walking, spinning, or harvesting, brings a sense of peace. Quiet conversations drift through the room. Sometimes the children laugh. Sometimes the adults speak softly about the weather, the crops, or the plans for tomorrow. This calm togetherness was the true flavor of medieval meals. Now imagine the great halls of castles where the wealthy ate differently, though not always better. Long tables filled the room, lined with people talking in low voices. Servants moved quietly, carrying platters of bread, roasted meats, and vegetables. The hall was warm from the large fireplace near the wall. Light shimmered across stone surfaces. But even here, despite the greater variety of food, meals were still slow, traditional, and deeply connected to the land. Spices were rare. Vegetables were seasonal. Meat was eaten less often than we imagine. Yet every meal followed the same calm medieval rhythm: patience, quiet enjoyment, and simple ritual. Imagine now the baking of bread. The village baker would rise before dawn, long before the streets filled with footsteps. He would shape dough gently on a wooden surface, pressing it with soft, practiced movements. The oven, made of stone and clay, glowed warmly as the fire inside settled into perfect heat. When the baker placed the loaves inside, the smell spread through the village like a warm blanket. People woke to that smell. They followed it with sleepy eyes and slow footsteps, carrying small coins or bundles of grain to trade. Early mornings in medieval villages belonged to the baker, to the simple magic of fresh bread rising in the quiet air. Let's walk into the kitchens of monasteries, where monks cooked in silence. Imagine long stone rooms filled with cool air, lit by high windows that allowed sunlight to fall in soft beams. Monks moved calmly between tables, chopping herbs, stirring pots, baking simple foods. They worked without speaking, believing that silence brought peace to the soul. Their meals were humble: bread, vegetables, soups. Yet they were prepared with deep care. Eating was a ritual of gratitude, done slowly, mindfully, with each person aware of the gift of nourishment. Food in medieval times wasn't just about eating. It was about community, patience, and living with the seasons. People learned to wait. They learned to appreciate small flavors. They learned that a warm meal after a long day was one of life's quiet blessings. There was no rush, no fast food, no endless choices. Only the steady rhythm of nature guiding what was grown, cooked, and shared. As evening comes, imagine a medieval family sitting near the fire once again. A pot of warm porridge rests between them. The flames glow softly, casting golden light on the children's faces. Outside, night falls without any harsh noise. Inside, the family eats slowly, calmly. The day winds down gently, and the warmth of the meal brings comfort to their tired bodies. Let this peaceful picture settle in your mind: the soft firelight, the smell of bread, the warmth of a simple kitchen. These were the moments that shaped medieval life, moments of quiet nourishment and heartfelt togetherness. Let's take a calm step into another quiet corner of medieval life, one that shaped every day in ways people today rarely think about. Imagine the soft, early morning light drifting into a wooden cottage. A basin sits in the corner, filled with cool water drawn from a nearby well. There is no tap, no soap with sweet fragrances, and no warm shower waiting behind a curtain. Instead, there is only a simple bowl, the kind that people used for washing their hands, their face, and sometimes their entire body. Staying clean in medieval times was not a quick daily habit. It was a gentle struggle woven into life itself. Imagine someone dipping their hands into that cool basin. The water feels crisp, carrying the chill of dawn. They splash it on their face, rubbing away the dust of sleep. It isn't a full bath, just a small ritual to begin the day, enough to feel refreshed. Most medieval people washed like this every morning. Quiet, simple. No soap except maybe a rough block made from animal fat and ash. Even that was rare. Washing was an act of patience. People learned to live with the earth on their skin, the dust from fields, the smoke from fires, the sweat from long hours of work. Let's take a slow walk to the well, the heart of any medieval village. The path is made of dirt, cool underfoot. Birds are just beginning to sing in the trees. Women and children gather around the well, lifting wooden buckets with steady hands. The sound of water splashing inside the bucket is calming, soothing, like a gentle river flowing in the distance. This water is used for everything: cooking, cleaning, drinking, washing clothes, and bathing when possible. But water is heavy, precious, and sometimes far away. So every drop must be used with care. Now imagine a medieval bathhouse. Yes, they existed, especially in towns and cities. Picture a warm room made of stone with wooden benches along the sides. Steam rises softly from large barrels of hot water. People enter slowly, grateful for the rare chance to bathe fully. The air smells of herbs, rosemary, lavender, mint, added to the water to mask smells and relax tired muscles. For a moment, life feels peaceful. The warmth soaks into their skin. The quiet hum of voices echoes through the baths. Bathing, when possible, was a moment of comfort, almost a small celebration of cleanliness. But not everyone had access to such comforts. In many villages, people bathed only occasionally, maybe once a week, sometimes even less in winter. Imagine a mother heating water over a fire, pouring it into a wooden tub while children watch patiently. The bath is shared, one after another, until the water cools. The room is filled with steam. The fire crackles softly in the background. These rare bath nights were moments of family connection, warmth, and simple joy. Let's wander gently into the world of medieval laundry. Picture women kneeling by a riverbank, washing clothes with cold water from the stream. The sound of cloth being rubbed against smooth stones blends with the flow of the river. It is a rhythmic, calming sound, steady and timeless. Laundry took hours. Clothes were few, usually only 1 or 2 sets per person. People cared for each piece with devotion because replacing them was difficult. Clean clothes were a quiet luxury, something people treasured. Yet despite limited washing, medieval people had their own ways of staying fresh. Herbs were used for fragrance. Dried flowers were sewn into pouches and tucked into clothing. Rosemary and thyme were burned to scent homes. Linen undergarments helped absorb sweat, making outer clothes last longer. People understood their world and adapted in calm, creative ways. Cleanliness was not perfect, but it was cared for with the resources they had. Now picture a castle. Even there, Staying clean wasn't easy. Imagine a noblewoman brushing her hair with a comb made of bone or wood. She sits near a small stand where a servant pours warm water from a jug into a bowl. The noblewoman washes her hands and face gently, her long sleeves lightly brushing the stone table. Perfumed oils sit nearby in small clay jars. These oils were rubbed onto the skin, giving a soft scent of rose or myrrh. Even royalty had to follow simple routines. Small washings, careful maintenance, quiet rituals of grooming. Let's step into the world of monks and nuns. Cleanliness was part of their spiritual life. Imagine a monastery with stone basins along a long hallway. The air is cool. Light streams gently through arched windows. Monks line up silently, washing their hands before meals, a ritual of purity and discipline. Their baths were simple but regular compared to ordinary villagers. Cleanliness was tied to humility and respect, a small act of devotion woven into the rhythm of prayer. But for most people, smells were simply part of life. The earth, the animals, the sweat, the smoke from cooking, all these scents shaped the medieval world. People accepted it. It did not disturb them. In a way, the natural smell of life created a soft connection to the land. There were no perfumes filling the air, only the quiet honesty of simple living. Imagine the end of a long medieval day. A mother wipes her child's face with a damp cloth. She smiles softly, humming a tune as she brushes dirt from the child's hair. A father washes his hands after working in the fields, letting the cool water rinse away the dust. The fire glows gently. The cottage feels warm and peaceful. Cleanliness in this world was not perfect, but it was intimate, caring, filled with small moments of love and routine. Now let this picture settle inside your mind. The quiet basin of water, the warm steam of a bathhouse, the soft fragrance of herbs, the gentle rhythm of river water against cloth. These were the peaceful, humble rituals that kept medieval life moving day after day. Let's slowly step inside a simple medieval home, John. Imagine you're walking toward a small wooden cottage at the edge of a village. The sun has just set, leaving a soft glow along the horizon. The air is cool, and a gentle breeze carries the earthy scent of fields and firewood. As you push open the wooden door, it creaks softly, a familiar sound that echoes through the quiet room. Inside, the world feels warm, still, and comforting. The first thing you notice is the fire. A small hearth glows in the center or against the far wall, its light dancing gently across the rough wooden beams of the ceiling. The crackle of burning logs fills the house with a calm, steady rhythm, like a soft heartbeat that keeps the home alive. This fire is everything: the stove, the heater, the light, the protector against the cold. Families gather around it every night, sharing stories, meals, and warmth. The smell of burning wood mixes with the faint aroma of whatever was cooked earlier. Maybe barley bread, maybe a vegetable stew, creating a scent that feels both humble and soothing. Now imagine the walls of the home. They are made of wattle and daub, sticks woven together and covered with a mixture of clay, earth, and straw. They are simple, uneven, and warm to touch. Some homes have small windows, covered with oiled cloth instead of glass, letting in a faint, soft light during the day. At night, only the fire illuminates the room, casting long shadows that move slowly across the floor. Everything inside the home has a handmade feeling. Wooden stools, woven baskets, clay pots, and simple clothing hung on pegs along the wall. Walk a little further inside. You'll notice the sleeping area. Beds are not soft mattresses, but wooden frames filled with straw, covered with wool blankets. The straw rustles gently when someone sits down or shifts in their sleep. It isn't luxurious, but after a long day of work, it feels surprisingly comforting. In a peasant home, the whole family often sleeps in the same room, sometimes even in the same large bed for warmth. Children curl up close to their parents, wrapped in blankets, safe from the cold night outside. The fire glows softly in the background, and the room fills with a peaceful silence. Let's take a quiet moment to notice the details. A mother sewing near the fire, her fingers moving slowly and carefully through the cloth. A father repairing a wooden tool, smoothing the edges with a small knife. The family dog curled near the warm hearth. A pot of water hanging from an iron hook above the flames. These simple scenes create a calm rhythm that shaped medieval evenings. Soft tasks, quiet conversations, gentle routines that helped everyone settle after a long, tiring day. Imagine now a medieval upper-class home, not a castle, but a merchant's house. 2 floors, built of stone and timber. As you walk inside, the scent changes. Herbs in small clay bowls, beeswax candles instead of open firelight, smoother wooden furniture that someone worked on with skill. The floor is covered with straw, but it's fresh, clean, and sometimes scented with lavender or mint to keep insects away. The home feels a little more polished, a little more organized, but still deeply peaceful. A woman reads from a manuscript by candlelight. A servant pours warm wine into small cups. A child plays with wooden toys in the corner. The room glows with warmth, calm and steady. Let's take a soft step into a noble home or small castle chamber. Here the walls are stone, cool and solid. The fire in the large hearth burns brighter, filling the room with heat that pushes back the cold stone air. Tapestries hang from the walls, not just for decoration, but to keep the room warm. The colors are muted, deep red, soft blue, faded gold. A noblewoman sits in a tall wooden chair, combing her hair slowly with a carved wooden comb. The comb glides through her long, dark hair with a gentle sound. A servant stands nearby, holding a small lamp, creating a warm, flickering glow. The whole room feels serene, like time moves slower here. Now imagine the mornings inside any medieval home. The first person awake stirs the fire, adding new wood, gently blowing at the embers until they glow once more. The sound of the fire waking up is like a whisper, a calming, familiar comfort. The air is cold, crisp, and fresh, especially during winter. People rise quietly, rubbing their hands to warm them, washing their faces with cool water from a basin. The day begins with soft footsteps, light voices, and the gentle hum of the world starting to move again. Let's look at the kitchen area. In most homes, it's just a part of the main room. A wooden table stands nearby, cluttered with onions, bread, small clay jars, and herbs hanging from a beam above. The scent of dried thyme, rosemary, and mint fills the air. This small kitchen is where families bond, cutting vegetables together, fetching water, preparing simple but comforting meals. Even the act of stirring a pot over the fire becomes a soothing, slow ritual. Now imagine the sounds of the night inside the home. The wind outside brushing softly against the walls, the fire crackling, someone turning in their straw bed, a dog shifting near the hearth, a baby's soft breath as it sleeps beside its mother. These sounds created the soundtrack of medieval life, quiet and intimate, calming and constant. The home was not luxurious, but it was safe. A small circle of warmth in a world that was often cold and unpredictable. Take a moment to picture yourself sitting by that medieval fire. The warmth touches your skin. The shadows move slowly along the walls. The smell of wood smoke wraps around you like a blanket. There is no rush, no noise, no distractions. Only the slow rhythm of a world that lived closer to nature, closer to silence, closer to rest. Let's gently step into the medieval morning. The sun rises slowly over the horizon, spreading a soft golden light over fields, forests, and sleepy villages. The world wakes up not with noise, but with calm, steady rhythms. Birds chirp softly. A distant rooster calls. Smoke begins to rise from cottage chimneys as fires are rekindled. Life begins early, long before the heat of day arrives, because every task requires time, effort, and patience. In the medieval world, work was not just something you did. It was the rhythm of survival woven into every hour. Imagine the first person stepping outside, a farmer wiping the cold from his hands, breathing into his palms to warm them. The earth is damp and cool under his feet. The tools are simple: a wooden plow, a worn-out hoe, a small hand rake. Yet these tools are precious, because they are the key to life. A single bad harvest could mean hunger for the entire winter. So each step, each movement, is done with quiet seriousness. Now slowly picture the field stretching out ahead, vast, open, peaceful. The air smells of earth, grass, and morning dew. The plow cuts through the soil, creating long, straight lines. Oxen move slowly, breathing heavily, their steps steady and unhurried. The farmer follows behind, guiding gently, whispering soft sounds to calm the animals. The work is hard, yes, but the morning is peaceful. No machines, no loud engines, only nature, breath, and the scrape of wood on soil. Let's move to another part of the village and the women's work, and don't think it was any easier. In fact, women's daily labor shaped the rhythm of medieval life more than anything. Imagine a woman kneeling near a basin, washing clothes with cold river water. Her fingers sting with cold as she scrubs the fabric on a wooden board. Nearby, a pot of porridge simmers gently over the fire. Children run underfoot, laughing or crying. A baby clings to her hip. Yet she continues her tasks, cooking, cleaning, milking the cow, grinding grain into flour, sweeping the floor. These chores were not small. Each one required time, strength, and patience. Evening meals depended entirely on what was prepared during these long hours. Bread had to be kneaded for half an hour. Butter needed churning for what felt like forever. Wool had to be spun into thread using nothing but a drop spindle. A slow, quiet, hypnotic process. Imagine the sound, the soft whirring of the spindle spinning in the air, the thread forming between skilled fingers. the gentle crackle of the fire beside her. It's soothing to picture, but it took hours, sometimes entire days. Now imagine the craftspeople. The blacksmith's forge is dark until he blows life into the fire. Slowly the coals turn orange, then bright red. Sparks float in the air like tiny stars. The blacksmith lifts a glowing piece of metal with iron tongs, placing it on the anvil. Clang, clang, clang. The rhythmic hammering echoes through the village. With every strike, the metal changes shape: a horseshoe, a knife, a hinge, a farming tool. The sound is heavy, steady, and oddly calming. In a medieval world with no clocks, this rhythm becomes time itself. Move now to the carpenter's workshop. A man smooths wood with a simple hand plane. The shavings fall in soft curls. The smell of fresh timber fills the air. Sawdust settles on the floor like snow. Every chair, table, spoon, or door in the village comes from hands like his. Days pass quietly, piece by piece, as wood turns into something useful. Let's gently walk into the life of shepherds. Their world is wide open, hills stretching endlessly, sheep wandering in slow clusters. The shepherd carries a wooden staff, a small pouch of food, and a calm heart. He spends the entire day under the sky. He listens to the wind, the sheep's gentle bleating, the rustle of grass. It is lonely but deeply peaceful. The clouds drift slowly overhead. The shepherd watches, waiting, guiding, thinking. This quiet life, far from the crowd, shaped countless medieval days. Now imagine the workers in the castle, the servants and maids. Their mornings begin before sunrise. They sweep the great halls, polish metal plates, carry buckets of water up stone stairs, prepare meals for nobles. The clatter of metal, the rustle of fabric, the distant echo of footsteps along stone corridors. This was their soundtrack. They move briskly but quietly, careful not to disturb the lord or lady. Their work is endless, yet it forms the backbone of the household. Let's take a deeper breath and picture the rhythm of the village itself. Children gathering sticks, men fixing fences, women boiling herbs for simple medicine, monks copying manuscripts by candlelight, each stroke of the quill slow and precise, bakers kneading heavy dough in warm kitchens, farmers walking home at dusk, tired but quiet, ready to sit near the fire. Every task in medieval life took longer than we can imagine today. But that slowness and that steady pace created a world full of calm, earthy sounds and peaceful routines. No hurry, no machines, just hands, nature, and time. Let's take a slow, peaceful breath. And now imagine yourself stepping into a medieval kitchen. Not a modern kitchen full of shiny metal and humming appliances, but a warm, smoky room where everything happens slowly, patiently, and by hand. The morning fire is already burning. The flames glow softly under a heavy iron pot. There is a calm warmth in the room, mixed with the gentle smell of wood smoke. The air is thick, a little hazy, but comforting, like stepping into a world that has existed the same way for centuries. In medieval times, food was not fast. It was not surrounded by loud machines, beeping ovens, or timers. It was a slow ritual of survival. The ingredients were simple, the flavors were earthy, and every meal took time, sometimes hours, sometimes the entire day. Picture a woman slowly grinding barley or wheat between two stones. Her movements are steady, repeated, almost meditative. Each rotation of the stone turns grain into flour. That flour will become bread, the most important food of the entire era. Bread wasn't just something on the side. It was the heart of the meal. Light bread for the rich, dark, heavy bread for the poor. Every bite carried the taste of the fields, the soil, the seasons. Imagine her mixing water into the flour, kneading it with both hands. Her palms press into the dough, folding, stretching, pressing again. The process is slow and rhythmic. It calms the mind. The dough rests near the fire, rising gently as time passes. Nothing is rushed here. Everything breathes slowly. Now picture a pot of pottage, the most common medieval dish. It's a thick stew made from whatever the family has. Cabbage, onions, peas, herbs from the garden, maybe a small piece of meat if they are lucky. The pot hangs over the fire on a metal hook. It bubbles gently. The smell fills the kitchen. Warm, earthy, soothing. Pottage could simmer for hours, sometimes even days, with new ingredients added each morning. It was a living meal, always changing, always warming. Let's move quietly across the room and imagine a child helping pluck vegetables from a basket. A small hand wipes dirt from a carrot. Another pulls dried beans from their pods. Their tiny footsteps patter softly on the wooden floor. Medieval meals were family work. Everyone played a role, even the youngest. And now imagine you step outside. There's a small garden just behind the cottage. It's not fancy, just rows of herbs, a patch of leafy greens, a few onions peeking from the soil. This garden is precious. It decides what families will eat throughout the year. Snails move slowly along the leaves. Bees hum. Birds chirp. Nature quietly grows the next meal. Let's slowly walk into a noble household. A castle kitchen. The room is larger, louder, but still without machines. A giant fireplace takes up one whole wall. Huge pots boil. Servants carry trays, bowls, and baskets. Someone chops vegetables on a wooden table. Someone else grinds spices with a heavy stone mortar. A whole boar or deer might hang nearby waiting to be cooked. Even here, where wealth is greater, every dish still takes hours. Picture the slow turning of a spit over the fire. A servant rotates it by hand, hour after hour, brushing fat over the meat to keep it moist. The smell is rich and warm, herbs, smoke, and roasting flesh blending into the air. This is medieval luxury, but even still, it is slow, patient work. Move again now, John, into the world of preserved food, something essential for survival. There were no refrigerators, so people dried apples in the sun, salted fish until it was stiff, smoked meat so it would last through winter. Imagine thin slices of apple laid out in neat lines, slowly drying under warm sunlight. Each piece represents safety. Each piece is a promise that the family will have something to eat when snow covers the land. As dusk approaches, the family gathers near the long wooden table. They sit close to the fire. The room glows softly with candlelight. Shadows dance on the walls. A loaf of bread is placed in the center. A bowl of pottage is shared. A jug of watered ale is passed around gently. Eating is not rushed. It is slow, thoughtful, quiet. Every bite carries the work of many hands. Farmers, shepherds, cooks, gatherers. Every flavor is connected to the land and the season. The meal is simple, yes, but it is full of meaning. And now take a gentle breath. Let the warm medieval kitchen fade softly into the night as we move toward another aspect of life. Let's take a slow breath together. And now imagine yourself stepping into a medieval village square where the morning sun is soft and golden, and people are beginning their day. Before you even notice the sounds of wooden carts or distant church bells, your eyes settle on something gentle and familiar: the clothes people wear. Not flashy, not bright, not decorated like movies show, but simple, warm, and made with patient hands. Clothing in medieval times was not just something to cover the body. It was a part of daily life that carried the feel of the land, the seasons, and the quiet rhythm of survival. Almost everything was made from wool, linen, or sometimes rough hemp. Imagine running your fingers along a piece of freshly woven wool, slightly scratchy, thick, warm, carrying the faint smell of sheep and outdoor air. This was the fabric that protected families through long winters and misty mornings. It was heavy, comforting, and deeply tied to the world they lived in. Picture a woman slowly spinning wool on a wooden spindle. Her fingers move with steady, gentle skill, twisting raw fibers into a long thread. The movement is hypnotic, like watching someone rock slowly on a chair. She has done this millions of times. She knows every second of it. The spindle turns, the thread grows, and a warmth spreads through the room. This is how fabric begins, one soft twist at a time. Now imagine a loom standing near the window of a small cottage. Wooden beams, strings stretched tight, the steady sound of weaving. Clack, thump, clack, thump. The weaver moves the shuttle back and forth, slowly building cloth. It takes hours just to create a small piece, days for a full roll. But there is no rush, no noise, no frustration. It is a peaceful rhythm, as if life itself is woven into every inch of cloth. Let's step into the life of a peasant man. He wears a simple tunic made of coarse wool. The color is earthy, brown, tan, or dull green. Dyes were expensive, so most clothes kept the natural color of the sheep. His belt is a simple rope. His shoes are made of leather, rough and stiff but good enough for walking muddy paths. Over his shoulders he might wear a hooded cloak to protect him from cold winds. Imagine the cloak wrapped around you, heavy but comforting, like being quietly hugged by the past. And now picture a peasant woman. Her dress is long, reaching her ankles, with sleeves that cover her arms to keep her warm in the fields. Over her dress, she wears an apron, not stylish, but practical. Her hair is tucked neatly under a linen veil or scarf. Her clothes are not many, maybe 2 dresses for the whole year, sometimes even 1. Each piece is washed, patched, repaired, and treated gently so it can last through every season. Jeans or t-shirts were not yet a dream. Every garment was precious. As we walk deeper into medieval life, let's quietly enter a noble household. The clothes here are richer, softer, and filled with color. Imagine deep blues, warm reds, soft golds, colors that only the wealthy could afford. These dyes came from faraway lands: saffron for yellow, madder for red, indigo for blue. But even here, the fabrics still whisper the same slow story, woven by hand, stitched with patience, created through hours of quiet labor. Think of a noble woman's gown. The fabric is heavy velvet or smooth silk that catches the soft glow of candles. The sleeves are long and flowing. The embroidery is delicate, made by someone who spent weeks stitching tiny threads into little flowers, leaves, or symbols. The dress sways as she walks, making a faint whispering sound like wind brushing through tall grass. Wearing such clothing was not just fashion, it was a symbol of status. Yet the feeling remained slow, graceful, and serene. Let's gently imagine the clothes of children now. Small tunics made of leftover cloth, tiny shoes tied with straps. A child plays in the dust, kicks a pebble, and laughs softly. Their clothes gather dirt quickly, but no one minds. Childhood was simple. Clothes were simple. Life was simple. In medieval times, there were no closets full of outfits, no overflowing drawers. People wore the same things again and again. But that simplicity created a softness in life, a feeling that clothes were not fashion, but a quiet companion through every morning and every evening. As night approaches, imagine a medieval family preparing for sleep. They do not change into pajamas. They simply loosen their belts, fold their cloaks, and lie down in the same clothes they wore all day. A wool blanket covers them, itchy but warm. The fire dims, the crackling slows. Anyone listening would hear only breathing. Steady, peaceful, timeless. And so as we gently wrap up this chapter, feel the texture of medieval life settle around you. Simple fabrics, slow stitching, quiet weaving, clothing that carried a whole world of work and warmth.